I kinda hate climbing in most games. Whether it's Uncharted or Horizon, Zelda or Assassin's Creed, climbing often feels more aggravating than engaging. It's something that I normally put up with for the sake of the rest of the experience. Not that these games or their mechanics are objectively bad, of course, I just find these systems boring at best, and I thought Jusant would largely be the same, but I like to keep an open mind and try new things, so I gave it a shot anyway, and wow, I am so glad I did. When describing Jusant, the first word that comes to mind is contemplative. There are no enemies to fight, no friends to find. You don't know who you are or where you've come from, but your objective is clear. Keep moving, keep climbing, mount the summit and discover what you've been working towards, clearly carrying the hope of a better future on your shoulders. You'll find yourself delving deep into this mysterious tower, passing through an array of beautifully designed environments as you hunt for a way upward. Constantly finding ways to embrace the nature around you to your advantage while struggling against the elements. But what makes this game so special, such a uniquely worthwhile gameplay experience though, is how well all of this comes together in one of, if not the best set of climbing mechanics I've seen in gaming. Jusant isn't about the peril of falling to your death or the hardship of climbing an insurmountable mountain. It's about that innately human impulse, that voyeuristic curiosity that so many of us find inescapable. It's about freedom of movement and the trial and error of exploration. About truly immersing yourself in the quiet intrigue of this world and the nuances of its systems. Jusant is one of 2023's most unique gaming experiences. And a perfect example of why, for those of us who love this industry and all of its bombastic set pieces and high-octane action, it can be incredibly invaluable to slow down from time to time and try something different. Yet as brilliant as I find this game's pace, its art direction, its level design, its music, its world building, as excellent as all of these myriad aspects that contributes to this game's atmospheric presentation are, I wouldn't be sitting here making this video if Don't Nod hadn't absolutely nailed the core gameplay loop, if the traversal itself wasn't fun. Now this is gonna sound a bit silly, but the only thing that comes to mind when trying to describe what Jusant feels like is, what if Quap didn't hate you? You see, the flow of movement and the tactile nature of climbing feels just like running down one of those tracks, just with the focus on fluidity instead of wildly flailing. In fact, the climbing is so intuitive, it'll likely click for a lot of people as soon as they scale their first wall. Each trigger on the controller functions just like an outstretched hand, pressing to grip onto the various outcroppings and releasing to reach for new heights with your left stick guiding your movement. Jusant's simplicity is one of its biggest strengths, as it allows the act of climbing itself to feel so organic almost immediately, yet it's nuanced enough to still demand your attention if you aim to progress smoothly and efficiently. There are no illuminated handholds, there's no magic visor guiding your every move. Instead, Jusant establishes this highly effective visual language that draws your eye toward your goals. You'll find yourself naturally scanning cliff sides, mapping out your path forward, gauging just how far your stamina will take you. Factoring in how exposure to the sun might cause flowers to wilt, calculating which beetle to latch onto, or how to position yourself just right to catch the wind. Some people will certainly find this approach to gameplay dull and uninspiring, but there's a very calm, methodical rhythm to the process that others will find almost hypnotic. The rhythm of timing your inputs so you can hurry to avoid the sun, or the more intrinsically motivated yet incredibly satisfying urge to match the pace of your inputs to the smooth pace of your character and their animations is addicting. And I believe this constant flow and how you can feel it in every single element of Jusant and its pacing is what makes this such a fun and memorable experience. As you climb the monolith, you'll find yourself confronted by a series of climbing puzzles, and I use the word puzzle loosely because the game isn't interested in halting your progress so much as ensuring that that progress is considered instead of haphazard. You won't find yourself pushing blocks around or trying to match archaic symbols. It's really all about the traversal in the best of ways. Where the question I find myself asking in games like Horizon might be, how can I get to where I'm going? With Jusant, I skip straight to how should I, as it provides a variety of options and an unexpected amount of agency in exactly how you choose to progress up the tower. One of my biggest issues with climbing in most games is the incessantly slow, repetitive pace that feels narratively consistent, sure, but from a gameplay perspective does nothing to interest me. Yet Jusant breaks from the mold by giving you so much control of your ascent, from the pace at which you climb to the placement of your pitons. The pitons in particular enable the kind of self-expression through gameplay that will make each climb somewhat unique to the player. You can anchor them to just about any surface after all, and alongside the various alternate paths, it's more than enough to keep me curious, keep me wondering about all the other ways I could have chosen to approach the task at hand. It's also frictionless, and my biggest surprise may be how that lack of friction encourages curiosity instead of apathy, right down to a stamina system that doesn't hinder you so much as it promotes mindfulness. Unlike Zelda or Genshin, it's not just a flashing warning sign that you're about to fall and lose your progress, perhaps even your life. Jusant has turned stamina into a fun system to manage and interact with, instead of a constant annoyance. While you lose stamina slowly while climbing and in chunks for every leap, you can choose to partially recover by briefly resting on each wall or latching onto a dock and reeling in your pitons. And even if you fall, you never lose more than a few moments of progress, encouraging you to explore and experiment with different approaches without the fear of being set back. Where I think this lack of friction would prove boring for other gaming genres, I think it meshes with traversal-centric games incredibly well when done well, and Jusant is a masterclass, as it builds upon its core systems with fun environmental additions like the wind. Instead of getting tired of the climbing, I found myself wishing there was more, and that's in no small part thanks to the phenomenal world building and overall atmosphere of Jusant. As you wander through the remains of hundreds of lives once lived, the story of this game will slowly unfold through a combination of environmental storytelling and narrative breadcrumbs in the form of scattered notes. As you learn that the concept of rain itself has become a myth, as you read about how the former inhabitants of this tower tried to scale it themselves, more and more intriguing details about this world will reveal themselves to you. It's such a fascinating setting that I really just want to learn more about, and I hope Don't Nod returns to it in some form in the future. It's all very reminiscent of the work of Team Ico, a style of storytelling that lends itself really well to thoughtful exploration without becoming too overbearing. Some will find that enticing, but others will see it as a lack of content though. It comes down to what you look for in a gaming experience and how you play. Realistically, while you could easily spend 8 to 12 hours exploring, uncovering secrets, soaking in the atmosphere, you could also probably burn through this game in about 2 if you were focused solely on climbing as quickly and efficiently as possible. But in doing so, you would miss out on a lot of what makes this game so worth playing. If you rush to the end, you won't get to experience the emotionally charged depth of Jusant's world, the moving soundscape full of rustling wildlife and the whispers of those who came before. I cannot stress enough, don't put on a podcast or your favorite piece of white noise. Put your headphones on, take your time, and truly absorb the serenity of the echoing breeze and the music of Guillaume Ferran. I can, with the utmost confidence, assure you, this is the way to get the most out of what Jusant has to offer. If anything about what I've said, if anything about the game's world, its art, its music strikes a chord with you, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Jusant for an afternoon. Because while this is by no means necessary, I've always personally found that taking a moment to step back and breathe and play something a bit different is crucial, because games, all games, from Call of Duty to Journey, are art in their own way. And in my own humble opinion, how are you supposed to have any perspective, any true appreciation, not just of the whole, but of individual works, if you spend a lifetime walking galleries full of nothing but artists trying to copy Van Gogh? While the number grows every year, there are still few games so wholly focused on the journey and discovery, on traversal, without dozens of hours of gameplay, without a lot of the underpinnings of modern game design. And the lack of those things, the lack of length in particular, has often made it hard for games like this to gain much traction with the gaming community. And that's really no surprise. There are quite literally too many amazing games out there to play them all, and Games like this are never going to land for everyone. Hell, as much as I love Jusant, it's far from perfect, so yeah, this is definitely not going to be for everyone. But I think it is good enough that it's worth finding that out for yourself, especially considering, guess what? Jusant is on Game Pass, and if you have a subscription, I am giving you homework. Go play Jusant, then come back, maybe leave me a like, and tell me what you thought, because I want to hear it. Just like I want to share more exceptional games just like this with you in the future. We're creeping up on the 1,000 subs, and I have a lot of fun stuff planned for the end of the year, so subscribe and stay tuned. Submit your homework down below, and let's talk about why it's fun.